301. So let's get started, and just know that I want to make this interactive. So you could raise your virtual hand or unmute if you have a comment or a question. There'll be times when I'll ask you questions and just get feedback that way. But I want to kick off with our company mantra. I'm not sure if everybody knows this, but recently we have adopted a company mantra, sort of a philosophy of how we do things. Who knows what that is? You can unmute or type it in the chat. Company philosophy. I see David Underwood's hand.
Excellence in all that we do.
John, yes, nailed it. Christina Rodriguez in the chat. Excellence in all we do. Yes, perfect. If you didn't know that, you know it now. You're going to be hearing it more and more, and we can begin adopting it into all of our lives. Excellence in all we do, not just at work, but outside of work. How many of you believe that excellence in all we do applies to how you use your time? Right? Yeah, of course. Of course. Time is a huge one. I believe that our number one asset that God gave us is time. And he allows you and I to steward the time that we have. How do we use that time? And so I'm not a big proponent of time management at all. Actually, I think time management is a myth. I'm a huge proponent in time optimization. Here's why. Time is constant. The way God set time up, it doesn't matter how you or I try and manipulate it, how we twist it or manage it, there is still the same 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. I can't manage that. It's not changeable. But I can optimize how I use the 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 24 hours, 7 days. I can optimize my time there. That's what today is all about. And as long as you think that you could still, like, how do I manage my time? I believe you'll struggle, as I did, until I switched my thinking on how do I optimize my time. And so today I want to look at it like you would two sides of a coin. You ever flip a coin and go heads and tails, right? We've all done that. One side of the coin is, what do I need to stop doing? What are the major time wasters? I want to be aware of those. I'll stop doing those. But the other side of the coin, what is it that I could start doing where I can optimize my time better? How many of you have ever heard, you heard the phrase, man, time flies. Maybe you've said that, time flies. Time flies, right? Patrick, you've said that. I see you shaking your head. Dave Underwood, John's shaking his head. Yeah, time flies. Well, I believe that. Guess what? Time flies, but you're the pilot. You're the pilot in command. God designed it to where he gives you the privilege of commanding your time. Financial guru Dave Ramsey says, if you don't tell your money where to go, you'll wonder where it went. I think the same thing applies to your time. If you don't tell your time where to go, what you're going to do, you'll always think, I never have enough time. Well, because you're haphazard with it. We're going to fix that today. I'm going to give you some tips, tricks, tools. They're not tricks. They're tools. I've applied them to my life. I'm going to pass them on to you. Okay, so let's start with this. You know my stance on time management versus time optimization. So let me give you a definition. And again, if you have this is the first thing you can write down. Or if you're just taking notes, here's something that you can write down. Time optimization is, this is the Jason Palmisano definition, okay? It's commanding. That's a strong word, commanding. Time optimization is commanding, efficient, and effective. Commanding efficient and effective use of your time to accomplish what's most important now. Commanding efficient, what I mean by efficient, very timely, quick. Quick is relative to the size of the project you're working on. Sometimes quick as an hour, sometimes quick as 3 days or a week, but it's efficient. Like you're getting it done. You're moving the needle. Effective means you're working on the right thing. Efficient and effective use of your time to accomplish what's important right now in this moment that God gave us. Hey, yesterday's gone. Nothing we can do about it. Tomorrow hasn't come yet. We only have the present. What are we doing right now in the present? What's most important right now? Okay. Going back to time flies and you're the pilot, there's a balance. You're the pilot in command of your, there's people in the waiting room. I'm over here yapping. Thomas Trotter. Okay, let me let these people in. David Riojas. Let me welcome these guys. Tom Trotter, welcome. And David Riojas looks like his audio is joining. Tom's joining. Okay, you're the pilot in command, and there's a balance between giving your passengers. I'm gonna bust Eddie's chops, and I apologize. I'm trying to multitask, and you're gonna see in a moment that's a time waster. As you can see right now, this is a perfect definition of multitasking. I'm trying to let people in the Zoom and talk to you effectively, and you can see how in real time, how multitasking is so inefficient. It's like my thoughts are all interrupted, your continuity's all interrupted because I'm trying to multitask. All right, well, Eddie, welcome. Hey, we want to see your face, Eddie. And you're late to the time optimization workshop, buddy. Okay, but time flies, you're the pilot. There's a balance between, as the pilot, giving my passengers a good ride, right? A comfortable, smooth ride, and me taking off on time, directing the plane to get to the right destination and landing on time. I know there's a balance there, okay? We're going to talk about that. So knowing the difference between management and optimization and how time is a number one asset that we have, you're the pilot in command of it. What's the number one issue that prevents you from having more control of your time and schedule? All right, you can unmute, you can type in the chat if you want to. What's the number one issue that prevents you from having more control of your time and schedule? Would love to hear that. This is the interactive part, you guys. Unforeseen circumstances. Yeah, oh, that's huge, Patrick. Yeah. Yeah, unforeseen circumstances, absolutely. That's a good one.
Outside demands.
Outside demands, yes. We're going to touch a little bit on that today, David. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to say a lot of interruptions.
Interruptions. John's saying interruptions. Eddie's saying interruptions when working on projects. Yep, 100%.
Things getting added to your schedule.
David Riojas, yeah, did you say things getting out of your schedule?
No, getting added to your schedule, like trying to fit in more things throughout the day.
Oh, fitting in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Fitting in. Eddie's here. Oh, good, Eddie. Glad we got you, brother.
Yes,
Fantastic, and welcome. Yeah, all those are good. Okay. Yeah. Interruptions, unforeseen circumstances, trying to cram more in the schedule. For sure. Okay. I love it. We're going to address those today. I put a quote on your handout. This quote's attributed to a few different people. I first heard it from Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who, by the way, lives in Orlando, so he's a local. But if you don't create and control your environment will create and control you. So true. Some people say it like, if you don't run your day runs you. Right? The tail wags the dog. There's lots of different ways to say it. I'm going back to, you're the pilot in command. You're in control of your schedule. That's the way God set it up. And so how do we do that? Let's go to the two sides of the coin. The first side of the coin are, what are the time wasters that are the 5 most common? And if we're aware of these, I talk to our leadership team all the time, not all the time, but a lot, about the reticular activating system, RAS. It's a bundle of nerves at the base of your brainstem. And the job of the reticular activating system is it simply creates categories for things. And if you don't have a category for a specific something, you don't know it's there. I'll give you an example. You might think, I'm going to get this new car. Hardly anybody has this car. I love it. Nobody has this color. You buy it. What happens next? What do you notice?
Color.
You see the car everywhere.
You see that car everywhere, right? Because now you have a category for it. Welcome, Nicole. We're glad you're here. Glad your camera's on. Fantastic. Yeah. So what I want to help you do is create a category for what the 5 most common time wasters are. So you'll know what they are and you can increase your awareness and stay away from them. You can begin to catch yourself and you become the coach. You begin to coach yourself like, wait a minute, we talked about that at time optimization. You got to stay away from these. Let me ask you guys, you could type it in the chat or you could say it out loud. What do you think? You see it on your sheet there. What do you think 1 or 2 of those most common time wasters are? What do you think they are?
Busy work.
Busy work. What else? It's good, Eddie. Thank you. What do you think a number 1 time waster is? I know y'all have some answers on this. Nobody? Oh, hold on. They're coming in the chat. Hold on now.
Phone calls.
Patrick says procrastination. Awesome. Kellyanne says social media. Christina says social media. Okay, let's jump in. Number 1, and by the way, this wasn't true several years ago. It's true today. Matt Bigler says that's what you're probably doing right now, Matt, driving. But we're glad you're here. We're glad you're a part. Okay. Number one time waster. The ladies got it. Social media. Social media. And social media on a couple different fronts is it's a time killer. Number 1, when you jump on it, it automatically triggers comparisons of your life to somebody else's life, and oftentimes trains your brain to want to live other people's lives. And there's no happiness in that. There's actually a lot of discontent that comes from that. And oftentimes what you're seeing on social media is not even reality. So the fact that now here's the deal. Your brain, my brain, one of the things it craves is novelty. Novelty, newness. We want new, we try and create new experiences, new things. Social media, there's a novelty aspect to it as you scroll. So it creates dopamine, which is addicting, right? We get that nice, that dopamine hit, and it keeps you scrolling. Minutes turns into hours. And it's just one of the poorest uses of time. I'm not saying don't ever use social media. What I'm saying is be smart, optimize your time. Sometimes not so much social media because I'm just not on it that much, but I will set a timer. If you're one that loves to get on social media and you struggle with time waste, that being one of your time wasters, just go, hit your phone, set a timer for 15 minutes. Boom. Right there, you got a timer going for 15 minutes. When that goes off, get off of social media. It's one of the hacks that you could use, okay? Number 2, second time waster for you to fill in the blank. Buffering. Buffering. What in the world is buffering? Buffering is a form of procrastination. Patrick, I think you said procrastination is a time waste. Certainly, buffering is my alarm has been set for 15 minutes. It's going to go off, so I'm turning it off. There's another, multitasking, so it breaks us again, right? Buffering. Buffering is when you do pretty much anything except what you need to be doing. The thing that you need to do, the task, the project, in your mind, it's like, how many of you have ever had something to do and you build it up in your mind bigger than it is, the circumstance worse, right? The outcome worse than it is, and you blow this thing up. And so then you create resistance. And so you start buffering. You go get a drink of water. You get a snack. You start throwing out trash. You start organizing your desk. You begin to vacuum your house if you're at home. You'll do anything except the very thing that will move the needle where it needs to go and what's important now. That's buffering. And I want you to be aware of buffering. It's a form of procrastination, and procrastination is the assassination of your destination. Ooh, that's a writer downer, mic drop.
I like that one.
Assassination, my friends, is procrastination is the assassination of your destination. We're not going to buffer. That's not excellent. What we do is hit our projects, the things that we don't want to do, we hit them head on. Guess what? That thing that you've built up in your mind, once you get into it, oftentimes you'll find, man, this wasn't so bad. This isn't what I thought it was. This actually, I'm going to crush this. It's just we resist. We build stuff up in our head, and it causes resistance and buffering. So I want you to be aware of that, okay? Eddie, I think you said busy work. That's actually a form of buffering. You're
Right.
like, okay, I got to do this task, right? How many of you have been here before? Got to do this task. So you sit down at your desk, you got your computer, and you start shuffling papers. You're like, well, let me just get to this email. Like, well, let me just do this text, right? You're like, well, or let me make another list of stuff I got to do, right? Well, I'm being productive. I'm making the list. And it feels like work because you're sitting at your desk and you're at your computer. But actually, guys and gals, it's fake work. That's what I call fake work. Don't get caught up in fake work. Fake work doesn't move the needle. Do the thing that you know you need to do and knock it out. Okay, social media is number one, buffering's number two. Number three, multitasking. Multitasking is a time waster. You've seen a couple of demonstrations just with me being on the call with you today, how disruptive and distracting multitasking was. It's when we try and juggle multiple tasks at a time. And it's a misnomer, a myth, however you want to say it, because in actuality, the human brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So when you do multiple things at a time, you're actually breaking that thought. You're not thinking about it anymore. It's gone. You're thinking about a different thought, a new thought, and you have to regain momentum to come back. And it is an absolute time waster. As a matter of fact, the High Performance Institute did a study on multitasking and found that those who multitask, and I'm talking about things like you're in deep work, creative work, you're in work that matters, but your notifications are still turned on. And so an email comes in or a text comes in, a phone call comes in, you're like, oh, time out, let me get this, get back, go back to the deep work. Get to the email, go back to the deep work, these sorts of things. Somebody pops in the office, hey, you got a minute? And oftentimes we'll go, yeah, sure, hold on, what you got? And it disrupts. Multitasking, High Performance Institute proved this, lowers your productivity by 30%. We want to be, how many of you want to be more productive? Yes, we want to be more productive. Multitasking is not the answer. You actually lower your productivity by 30%. Here's why. The quality of your work goes down and the length of time it takes you to do the work goes up. It lengthens. So don't think that you're going to do multiple things at the same time and get the deep work done, the creative work done, the important work done in less time and in high quality. Doesn't work like that. Social media, buffering, multitasking, interruptions. Interruptions. We named some just a moment ago. Somebody pops in the office, you're in the middle of something. Somebody pops in the office, right? Notifications. When you're in deep work and creative work, some of you working on claims, right? You're doing things. Turn your notifications off. How many of you, if your child was getting married, your son was getting, Elias, 20th birthday's coming up, right? Let's say you're going, okay, Eddie's son Elias is 20th birthday, so he's coming home from college. they're going to celebrate. Eddie, if in the middle of the celebration, you get a text from a client or a public adjuster that needs your help, are you going to break away from Elias and go tend to that?
No, because I've set boundaries on my work versus my personal life, and most adjusters know. And even though it comes off as rude or not accessible, or, you know, for lack of a better term, prickish, most PAs know not to call me after 5:36 because
Yeah, yeah.
that's outside time. There was 10 hours of availability. After that, you know, send me an email.
You set boundaries. And so we're going to talk about boundaries in a little bit. And I'm glad to hear that. No, you wouldn't break away from that. Let me ask you this, Eddie.
Mhm.
Did the world fall apart and everything go to mess because you didn't attend to that in the moment?
No, because even though what we do is important, it is not as important as spending the finite amount of time being in the moment, as you always talk about, right? You got to be in the moment.
Yes, yes. And we think if we don't get to it right now, it's going to fall apart. It's not going to fall apart. The claim's
And
not
we-
going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Your client's life isn't going to fall apart, right? The world's not going to fall apart. It's all going to be okay. Boundaries are important for your sanity, emotional health, and mental health. Set those boundaries. We're going to talk about that when we flip this coin over. Okay.
And real quick, Jason, vice versa. I do it with my son. If he calls me and I'm about to go into a meeting, it's like, hey, you okay? Yes, Dad, I am. All right, I'll call you back. Because I got to stay in the moment of what I need to do, which is work during work time.
Yes, that's beautiful. But did you guys hear the way Eddie handled that? Somebody comes in the office, you're in deep work. Hey, Jason, you got a minute? I don't tell him to go get lost. I don't tell him to go take a hike. I'm not, just because I set boundaries doesn't give me a license to be a jerk. I refuse to be a jerk. I'm not going to do that. It's not how I believe God wants me to operate. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to be loving. I oftentimes will say, I love you, brother. Can I get with you in a half hour?
Right.
It's how you say it. People don't remember necessarily what you say, but they remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And part of my personal philosophy is to make people feel loved and cared about. And so when it's interrupted, maybe I can't get to them, but I want them to know that they matter. And could you call me in an hour? Or can I call you in an hour? Can I get with you tomorrow? Hey, you matter to me. Listen, bro, you're important to me. I can't right now, but do you have time later? Right. So, but it's the discipline of staying on track. Jocko Willink, former Marine, MMA, he says this: discipline is freedom. Discipline is freedom. If you don't have discipline to set boundaries and you let every call, every text, every email, every interruption come into your life at any time, you have no freedom. And you have no discipline. I say it lovingly, my friends. Discipline is freedom. Okay. Let's hit this last one really quick. You got social. So five most common time wasters: social media, buffering, multitasking, interruptions, and not dealing with interruptions properly. Disorganization. That's number 5, disorganization. You got clutter. You got a cluttered workspace, you got a cluttered car, you got a cluttered house. All of that leads to a cluttered mind. Oh my goodness. Time waster, because it's you can't find anything. Your thoughts aren't clear. Everything's jumbled up. Clear the mind. We'll talk about, ways to do that when we flip this coin over. But you might need to clean up a little bit. And I say that in a loving way, right? Because you want to be a great steward of your time. So your workspace matters, your car matters. How you do anything is how you do everything. It's another one of my mantras. I believe that everything ties into the next. So remember we talked about the reticular activating system and creating awareness. The more you are self-aware of the 5 time wasters and how they're impacting your life, the quicker you can catch yourself and get back on track. the more self-aware you are, the less you will see these time wasters in your life, because you'll be a disciplined person. You'll be a smarter person. You're like, oh, I know that. I know that trick. Old procrastination's coming in, buffering's coming in. I want you to catch yourself. Nicole, I want you to go, doggone it, I'm buffering because I didn't want to call that contractor. I didn't want to go visit the contractor, and doggone it, I'm buffering right now. I know you and I talk about this.
I know.
Right? Talk about this. We're not buffering. No more buffering. Ineffective use of time. You're a superstar, Nicole. Every one of you are superstars. You were created for greatness. God didn't create you to be average. He didn't create you to be average. God doesn't create average. He created you for excellence. But how we use our time then matters. We got to optimize it, okay? Because time is finite as well. All right, time is finite. So yeah, we want to get organized. I want you to be more aware of how you're using your time and the self-awareness. Let's go to the 4 keys. Let's go to the 4 keys to optimize your time and operate with excellence. I want to share with you the tale of 2 coaches. The tale of 2 coaches. Coach number 1, it's time for practice. The team is out on the field. But where's the coach? Well, he lost track of time, so he's running late, flying in on 2 wheels, runs out, gets with the players. Hey, all right, guys, let's rally together. But in his rush, he forgot the scouting report, didn't write it down. So now he can't remember the plays to practice for the opponent they're facing over the weekend. So he haphazardly puts the team together and they just start running some plays, but he's got his phone in his hand. And so he's getting some messages and he tells the team to hold on. Tells the team to hold on, let me get this. And he's returning a message, but in the time he's doing that, another message comes in. So he's getting with that. Meantime, the team is losing interest and they're off he's losing the team. They're off doing their thing. They're kind of horsing around now. So frantically, the coach puts his phone back in his pocket. Team, gathers the team. Come on. Doesn't really have the plays, but he just starts running plays, going through the motions to make it look like they're busy, to make it look like they're practicing. But it doesn't really matter because they're not practicing the right thing. It's not efficient or effective. And so what happens what do you think will happen to the team that weekend? They gonna win?
No.
They're gonna get crushed. That team's gonna be so unprepared, they're gonna get crushed, right? Coach number 1. Coach number 2, he's out on the field, he's early. Practice hadn't started yet, but he's there, everything's prepared. Team comes out, and he already has prepared a pre-practice warm-up, takes them through that, breaks them efficiently into their stations. They go do their stations, calls them in. He has the scouting report. There's very specific plays to run against the opponent that they're going to be playing. Very efficient, very effective. They run through the plays. It's a 2-hour practice, but all the players feel like, man, it just felt like we were out here for an hour. It was so smooth and effective. They're done. Coach high fives them. They go about their way. What happens to them over the weekend? Well, they crush their opponent. Oh my gosh. They're over prepared. They're rested up. They're ready to go. And they crush their opponent. Let me ask you this. What coach would you want to play for? Coach number 1 or coach number 2?
2.
It'll be number 2, right? It goes without saying, but it helps us to even voice it. What coach do you want to be? You want to be coach number 1 or coach number 2?
2.
How do you want to run your life? Yeah, Dave, 2, John, yep, Eddie shaking your head, Patrick shaking your head. Yeah, of course. Nicole putting a 2 in the chat. Absolutely. Well, of course we want to be. All right. Then not only do we have to be aware of and stay away from those 5 time wasters, we have to flip the coin and do the 4 most effective things to crush our time, to optimize our time. This is what I do in my life. I've been doing it for a couple of decades now. I want to pass it on to you. Number one, map your plan. Map your plan. 4 keys to optimize your time and operate with excellence. You got to map your plan. I do this every Sunday. Sunday's a slow day for me. I take my foot off the gas pedal. I use Sunday to rejuvenate. I believe we've got to get better at rejuvenation. Deep, creative work, meaningful work comes from a heart and a spirit, a soul that's rejuvenated. If you never take time to rejuvenate and refresh, you're going to burn out. You're going to be coach number one. We don't want to be coach. Coach number one doesn't rejuvenate. He's always running behind. Coach number two, he rejuvenates. She rejuvenates. Okay, so on Sunday, I map out my week. I rough sketch it. I don't know all that's going to be going on during my week, but there are some important things. There are some priorities that I have that I know you guys and gals have too. Okay, like my marriage is a priority to me. So I don't leave connecting with my wife to chance. I don't leave connecting with Wendy, and you guys will meet Wendy one day. You gals will meet her. And you can ask her, by the way, you can just ask her this stuff. I don't fit her in the schedule if there's time. Wendy gets put on my schedule well in advance before the week starts. Why? Because she's a major priority. What difference does it make how much money I make if my marriage is falling apart, if your marriage is falling apart? Now, some of you are rebuilding a marriage and rebuilding a relationship. I think that's great. Rebuild. Okay, it's fine. It's never too late. My health, time is our number one asset that God gave us. You know what number two is? Health. Your health needs to be a priority, you guys. What difference does it make how much money you make if you don't have energy to enjoy it, or you're not around long enough to enjoy it? So not only does Wendy get time blocked on my calendar, my health gets time blocked. I don't have to wake up Monday morning guessing if I'm going to the gym. It's already on the calendar. My gym days are predetermined because they're that important. The more energy I have, the more good, creative, deep work I can do. As a matter of fact, the more energy you have, you can do more work in less time. You'll be amazed. But you have to sow energy into yourself, and your health has to be a priority. So these priorities, they get on Sunday, they're mapped out. You got to map out your plan. Another thing that's mapped out are the major work meetings that I have. They get on that calendar. Okay. Now, do other meetings come on during the week? Yeah, and they get added in, but they can't interfere with what's already time blocked because it's already blocked off on my calendar. Beautiful thing. Adopt that. Map out your plan on Sundays for the week. That's number one. Number two, you got to know your 80-20.
Yeah.
You got to know your 80-20. Here's what I mean by that. How many of you, by a show of hands or thumbs up you can do your emojis on there, but how many of you have heard of the 80-20 rule? Some people call it the Pareto principle, right? Pareto, 80-20. Yeah. Vilfredo Pareto. It's just a fun name to say, you guys. Vilfredo Pareto. He's Italian, an Italian economist. And in 1906, he did a study on Italy's economy. And he found out that 80% of Italy's wealth was held by 20% of the people. 80% of the wealth held by 20% of the people. Then he took it further and he wanted to see, where does this apply? Where does the 80-20 rule apply in other areas of life? Turns out it applies just about anywhere. Amazon. How many of you have ever bought anything off of Amazon? Come on. We all have. It's one of my favorite things, Amazon Prime. Did you know that 80% of Amazon's income, revenue, is from 20% of their products? Did you know that in nonprofit organizations, 20% of the people give 80% of the money? Did you know that on teams and in business, that 20% of the people shoulder 80% of the work? It is true all over the place. You know what, John? With Jenna, it's the same thing. Eddie, with Patty, it's the same thing. With my wife, Wendy, it's the same thing. There are 5 love languages. 5 love languages. There's quality time,
Yep.
physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, and gifts. 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. But it's unbalanced. Wendy, if I want to, like you, I told you my marriage is a priority. Well, not all of those 5 are her language. Only 1 is her real love language. And I used to try and do, I'm gonna get her some gifts. I'm gonna do all these acts of service. I'm gonna, words of affirmation. But only 1 of them fills her tanks 80%, and it's quality time. I know if I could give her a quality, that's why I time block it. You time block the things that are important to you, the priorities. So the 80-20 applies in your relationships with your significant others and your spouses. You got to know what their love language is and then devote. You put the time in there, you get 80% results back. You have to know, if you're going to optimize your time, you have to know what your 80-20 is, not just in your relationships, but let's say work. Let's apply it to work. Well, you can buffer. If you spend 80% of your time buffering, you're only going to get 20% of good results back, if that, right? But if you knew, let's say as a public adjuster, if you knew the few things, if you've done coaching with me, you know it's your 3 critical actions. There's 2 or 3 things that you can do that will give you 80% return. They'll move the needle. 80-20 means that there's an imbalanced and unbalanced relationship between inputs and outputs. If you don't like your outputs, your results, you got to change your inputs. Know what are the few activities that give you the greatest return in moving the needle that needs to be moved in your business, in your relationships, in your health. It applies everywhere. Okay, you got to know your 80-20. Time block your 80-20. That's number 3, time block. Okay, map it out. 4 keys to optimize your time. Got to map it out. You got to be like coach number 2. You got to have a plan. Map out your plan on Sundays. Number 2, know your 80-20. Number 3, time block the 80-20. You got to time block those in each area of your life. Here's what's proven to be true. And I believe it is in Atomic Habits. It's a book I got back here by James. Here it is right here. This is an awesome book. Atomic Habits by James Clear. That which gets scheduled gets done. The productivity infinitely rises. That which gets scheduled gets done. So you time block. Here's what I do. Now, understand, you're gonna have time waster temptations, right? Because if you don't turn your notifications off, you're gonna get phone calls, emails, texts during that time block. I'll turn off all possible distractions. I'll set a timer. Let's say my time block is 60 minutes. Sometimes it's 2 hours on one project. And I will set that timer up by my computer, which forces me to laser focus on, for 60 minutes, I am hyper focused on that one thing. You will be amazed at how much you can get done in that 60 minutes when you block out everything else. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is freedom. 2-hour time block. What do I do after that? Well, I'll check a few emails. So, some of you have like 150 emails a day. Yes? Do some of you get that? Like 200 emails a day? You know what you ought to do is time block the emails. It's not a major priority, but it's a task that's got to get done. And if you try and hit that many emails while multitasking, you know how long you're just going to be buried. Time block your emails, knock them out. Maybe you have a time block in the morning, time block in the afternoon before you go home, be done with them. When Jesus died on the cross, he said, "It is finished." When Jesus said that, were there still more people that need to be healed, that needed to be fed? that needed to be touched? Yes, but he said it is finished. At the end of the day, you could say, by gosh, it is finished. There'll be more to do tomorrow. You'll get to it tomorrow. Okay? Crush your time block, move on. Okay, and you can have multiple time blocks a day, obviously. Give yourself a break. John will tell you, Eddie will tell you, they're my office mates, my teammates. They tell you, man, that dude gets up like every 60 minutes to get some water, to walk around the office. Yeah, because there comes a diminishing returns. And the High Performance Institute says it's between 60 to 90 minutes, focusing at, that long on one thing, hyper focusing, where you get diminishing, get up, move around, get a snack, get some water, come right back, do some burpees, whatever, get your blood flowing, come right back down to it. Okay, lastly, all right, we're talking about the 4 keys to optimize your time. Make a plan, know your 80-20, time block, and start each day well. That's the last one. Start each day well. Coach number 2, start each day well. Coach number 1, how would coach number 1 start the day? What do you think he would do?
Today's gonna suck.
Yeah. So his self-talk's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Right. What else? What else is coach 1 going to do?
Wake up late.
Yeah, he's going to be late. He's going to complain. He's probably going to hit the snooze a few times. He's going to get up and wonder, what should I do next? What do I do now? You and I don't operate that way. We don't do that. It's not excellent. We already know. It's already mapped out. When we went to sleep the night before, we glanced at our schedule the next day and we go, okay, I got this at 9. That's going to be at 10:30. I'm meeting so-and-so, and the type of energy I'm going to bring to that meeting is going to be this. And like, okay, shut down. We already know that. We're coach 2 type people. And so we start our days well. 3 worst ways you could start your day. You ready for them? Here are the 3 worst ways that you could start your day coming from the High Performance Institute and studies that they have done. Number 1, within the first hour, you check social media.
Yep. Yep.
You now already set yourself up to live somebody else's life. You're not going to be happy. You're going to be disgruntled. You're going to be wasting time from the get-go. Number 2, second worst way to start your day. Within the first 60 minutes, you're checking your email.
Yep.
Now you've opened all your email box is, just so you know, your email box is simply a list of demands from other people. And when you check it within the first 60 minutes, you are now put yourself in reactionary mode right out of the gate.
Yep.
You're in reactionary mode, bowing down to the demands of other people. Public adjusters that I've coached tell me all the time, but you don't understand. You're not a public adjuster. I got to get with these clients at 8 o'clock. Okay. Get up at 6:30. Don't get up at 7:50. Get up at 6:30. Start your day right. Get your mind right. Get some exercise in. Then get to the emails. Okay? Third worst way to start your day is to not have a plan at all. Is to have no plan at all. All right. So let me let you guys go. Here in a few minutes, we're going to wind up. I want to let you know, let me wrap that up. You got to map out, right? If you want to optimize your time, you got to map it out. Start on Sunday, rough sketch the week, not just work, your other priorities, right? Your significant other, your health, your kids, things like that, plus your work. Know your 80-20, high leveraged activities. Time block those and hyper focus them and start each day well. To help you start each day well, I've developed a 30-day Kickstart. This just helps you. It's just a 30-day Kickstarter that has a pregame. Remember, coach number 1 didn't have a pregame. He's like, I just kind of showed up for practice late. A pregame. How do you warm up for your day? A game time. How do you flow through your workday? And a post game. How do you end each day? When you finish this Kickstart, it's kind of baby steps. When you get done with this, you'll get quarterly a 90-day, a quarterly win your days playbook that helps you just organize your days, right? Every day will be organized and planned and you'll have more time, you'll get time back, you'll be more efficient and effective, you'll be optimizing your time. I do this. This is how I run my life. Saturdays and Sundays are a little bit different. Take my foot off the gas on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay. But just know, if you want one of these, if you want one-on-one explanation, you want to grab one of these, I'll be happy to spend some time with you on that. The other thing I'll let you know about is I am thinking about doing a virtual monthly book club. Whoever wants to be in it, it's like personal growth. Let's spend some time working on ourselves. Like, welcome to my personal library. I'm always reading. When I go home from I'm reading in the mornings, I read in the evenings, and I'm just thinking, why don't we pick a book together? Personal growth. We have an assigned reading, whether it's a chapter or two a month, whatever we pick. And once a month we get together and we just talk about it. Hey, what were your main takeaways? How does that apply to your life? Good idea. Interested? What's the interest level here in something like that? Some are, love to. Nicole, Kellyanne, yes. Okay. Okay, cool. Leaders are readers, right? We always want to be, Eddie's down for it. Good. Interested. Patrick Keene. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, okay. I'll put it together. I just think it's a great way to keep growing and keep stretching ourselves. Lastly, know that on June 1st, we got a company beach day, Cocoa Beach, Hilton. If you haven't heard about that, connect with me. We've got 80 something people going now. John, it's up to 80 plus going. Yeah. So it's going to be huge. We're going to love it. It's June 1st, Saturday, Cocoa Beach, Hilton. You guys have been awesome. You've been phenomenal. I've got this recorded and I'll send it out. Let's do a quick round robin. What was your main takeaway? Quick main takeaway, like 10 seconds. You could put it in the chat or you can unmute and say it.
I'll start. I liked the main takeaway I took was, start each day with the plan. Sometimes you're reacting, as you said. I might have major goals in my mind, like I need to get this, and this done, but it's not really mapped out as well as it should be. So that's my major takeaway.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Okay. Map out the plan. Yes. Oh, tale of two coaches. Nicole, thank you for saying that, Nicole, because I made that up off the top of my head moments before this thing started. I'm like, what can I say? What can I tell that would give them, they have to decide on who they're going to be, right? I don't want to tell you who you have to be. I want you to decide. So you could be coach number one or you could be coach number two. I'm glad you said that. I was like, I wonder how this is going to go.
I like it. That's my takeaway.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. Time blocking. Kellyanne says time blocking. Good. Yeah. That's
It's the 80-20 for me.
80-20 for who?
Dave Underwood.
Dave Underwood. Yeah. No, there's some 80-20 books up in here, Dave. But I can shoot you. They've just been so helpful to me. Be self-aware, John. Yeah, John's self-aware of all my time wasters. Beautiful. So you got them in your reticular activating system now. Great. Christina says, setting a timer for social media. Yeah, Christina, good. And other time wasters, definitely. Good. Brianna says, don't start the morning with social media. Yeah, beautiful. Good. And, Bree, don't feel like you're the only one. There's a lot of people that struggle with that. I just want you to be wiser than that. So social media timer for sure. Good, Patrick. Thomas Trotter, 80-20. And applying that to all priorities. Yes, good. Thomas, you caught that. 80-20 applies across the board in every area of life. If it applies to Amazon products, it applies to pretty much everything, right? I know you've told me that before. But I forgot and I need to buy. Yeah, well, we have knowledge leak. And so we got to keep learning. That's good. I always started the way out. Good. Multitasking. Ouch. Good, John. Yeah, you and I have talked about that, John. And I will say, since you sit right next to me, I was so thrilled to hear you say today that you're crushing your week. You just been, this week's been different.
About time.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of all of you, and I'm just honored to be on the team with you and on this journey together. So please know that you're never bothering me. If I'm in the middle of deep creative work, and I might tell you, hey, can I connect with you in 30 minutes? You know that, right? You know where that's coming from. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and enjoy the rest of your day and week. God bless you.